Hi, I'm Savinia Sugumaran. So today I'll be talking about ECG. ECG is actually the short form for electrocardiogram. Now, the ECG is characterized by 5 different segments of waveforms. We have the P, Q, R, S, and T waveform in ECG. Now, each wave or segment of ECG corresponds to a certain event of the cardiac electrical cycle. So now let's begin. So the very first part, we have the P waves. Now the P wave represents atrial depolarization. When the atria are full of blood and the SA node fires, electrical signals spread throughout the atria and causes the atria to depolarize. This is represented by the P wave on the ECG. Right after that, we have the PR segment. So the PR segment represents the time the signals travel from the SA node to the AV node. After that, we have the QRS complex. Now, the QRS complex represents depolarization of the ventricles prior to the ventricle contraction. Now, the atrial repolarization also occurs at the very same time. However, QRS complex is of much greater amplitude compared to the atrial repolarization. Therefore, atrial repolarization cannot be seen on the ECG. Next, we have the ST segment. Now, the ST segment starts at the end of the S wave and finishes at the start of the T wave. The ST segment is an isoelectric line that represents the time between the depolarization and the repolarization of the ventricles. Lastly, we have the T wave. The T wave represents the ventricular repolarization before ventricular relaxation. And we also have 2 intervals. We have the PR interval at the beginning, and lastly we have the QT interval. So the PR interval is from the start of the P wave to the start of the Q wave. This PR interval represents the time taken for the electrical activity to move between the atria and the ventricles. And lastly, we have the QT interval. The QT interval starts at the very beginning of the QRS complex and finishes at the end of the T wave. This QT interval represents the time taken for the ventricles to depolarize first and then repolarize. So this cycle repeats itself with every heartbeat. Thank you.